So next we are going to see the chain drives. In this chain drives, actually uh, in the rope drives or in the belt drives, what we have seen, there are some chances of slipping, and that's why 100% velocity ratio cannot be obtained. In order to avoid the slipping, steel chains are generally used. The chains are made up of the rigid links which are hinged together for flexibility. While these chains moves on a wheel, or these which are having a projected teeth, which is generally called as a sprocket. The tooth wheel is called as a sprocket. So as this will form a very good link, so no slipping and thus positive drive can be obtained. Mostly this type of chain drives are generally used when to transmit the power over a shorter distance, such as in the bicycle, motorcycle, agriculture machines, etc. So perfectly in a chain drives we can get we can generally say near about 0% slippage is there, and that's why this can be called as a positive drive. Though there are some errors or some slippage are there, but still we can neglect it, or negligible slippage is there, and that's why these chain drives are called as a positive drives. And to transmit the power over a shorter distance or distance, these chain drives are generally used. So important thing is over here, whatever the chain is being there, that is made up of rigid link which are hinged together, and this chain is generally a flexible, and we are having a wheel which is having a projection like a teeth, and this is generally called as a sprocket, or this particular sprocket resembles to the spur gear. Now we will see the classifications of chain. So the chains on the basis of their use are classified into following through groups: hoisting and hauling chains, or the crane chains. These are generally used for the hoisting and hauling purpose. Then conveyor chains. So obviously these are used for continuous transmission of the material from one place to the another place. And then power transmitting chains. So this will be used for the transmitting the power, such as in automobiles. So we will see the hoisting and hauling chains. There are the two types of chains, hoisting chains and the hauling chains, depending on the geometry. The first one is called as a chain with oval links. If you can see over here, whatever the chains are being there, that are having a oval links, and these are oval in shapes, and these are and these are being jointed. Joints are welded. So whatever this joint is being there, oval shape, these are welded at one place. So sprockets have receptacles, and this type of chains can only be used at a low speed, such as a chain hoist and anchor of marine work. So obviously where there is a very low speed applications, there this can be used, such as a hand hoist, if you may have seen. So there this type of chains are used. Then there is another type of chain that is called as a hoisting chain, that is called as a chain with a square shape. So here you can see whatever the links are being there, that are square in shape. So chain are of square shape. So one of the advantage of this is that manufacturing cost is less, but if there is a excessive load applied to this, then there is a effect of kinking because of the overheating. Kinking means what? These chains may get bends, or we can say this may get bent, and that is called as a kinking effect. So used in the hoist cranes and dredges. Now we will see the conveyor chains. The conveyor chains are used for elevating and conveying the material continuously. The conveyor chains are of these following two types. One is called as a detachable or hook joint type chains, detachable or hook joint of type of chains, and another is called as a closed joint type chains. The conveyor chains are generally made up of the malleable cast iron. These chains actually do not have a smooth running qualities, means when we will use it, it will make a certain right type of noise, and these are generally used for the low speed application, that is from 3 to 12 kilometer per hour applications, and these are generally used for transferring the material from one place to the another place, and that's why it is called as a conveyor chains. The next type of chains which we are going to see, that is called as a power transmitting chain. The first type is called as a block chain. The geometry is like this, and these block chains are, these are the very early type of chains which we can see when the power transmission, or when early in the early development of the power transmission through the chain drive is being there. So this is the early development. So these are not much smooth and make a noise while transmitting the power, because whenever the chain approaches and leave the teeth of the sprocket, because of the contact between the sprocket teeth and the chain, there is a noise, and thus the operation is noisy. So another type of chain, that is called as a bush roller chain. This is widely used in our automobiles, this type of chains. So this in the bush roller chain, if you see over here, this is having a outer plates, which is again called as a pin link plates. Then it is having a inner plates. This is the outer plate, and this is the inner plate, or roller link plates. And then there are the pin, bushes, and the rollers. A pin passes through the bush. If you can see, this pin passes through the bush, which is secured in the holes, or the roller between the two sides of the chain. And thus this type of chains are more flexible. The rollers are free to rotate on the bush, which protect the sprocket wheel tips against the wear. So this type of chains generally offers extremely strong and simple construction, and it is good in service, and comparatively makes very less noise, and that's why this type of chain is can be advantageously used for the power transmission. Then another type of chain, that is called as the inverted tooth or silent chain. Generally this inverted tooth or silent chain is having an advantage, which is a disadvantage for the bush roller chain, because in the bush roller chain, because of a slight elongation of this chain, because of the continuous use, this chain may get slightly elongated, and then the pitch of this chain get disturbed, and it do not match perfectly with the sprocket pitch, and because of that there is a excessive wear of the chain, or because of that excessive wear of the sprocket, and the whole system may get damaged. So to avoid this, inverted tooth or silent chain is being developed. This is having one advantage, that this particular geometry takes care, that is, because of elongation, if there is some disturbance in the pitch of the chain, that will be taken care, and some type of modification or some type of changes in the pitch can be adjusted because of this geometry, and there will be no such excessive wear of the chain or the sprocket. Apart from that, this chain is quite or very silent in operation, and it is these are the two advantages of the inverted tooth or silent chain. Now we will see the advantage and disadvantage of the chain drive over belt and the rope drive. First, as no slip takes place during chain drive, with the chain drive, hence perfect velocity ratio is obtained. That is obvious advantage. Then second, since the chains are made up of metal, therefore they occupy less space, so comparatively compact arrangement we are having compared to the belt or the rope drive. Then chain drives may be used when the distance between the shaft is less. Obviously when the distance between the shaft is less, chain drives can be used. The chain drives give a high transmission efficiency, or the power losses are very less, because there are no slippage, and up to 90% efficiency we can achieve. The chain drives gives less load on the shaft, as these chain drives are made up of metals. This can be made lighter, and that's why the load on the shaft will be less. The chain drive has the ability of transmitting motion to several shafts by one chain only. So to several shafts we can transmit the power. What are the limitations? The limitation is obviously the production cost of the chain is relatively high, because we will need some sophisticated machines for producing this. Then chain drive needs accurate mounting and careful maintenance, that is whatever the sprocket is there, whatever the length of the chain is there, and everything must be accurately maintained, otherwise chain may run out of this sprocket. So careful maintenance, lubrication is needed for the chain drives. Then chain drive has a velocity fluctuations, especially when unduly stretched. As we know, as we will continuously use the chains, there will be some elongation or stretching of the chain, and as the chain gets stretched, there will be the velocity fluctuations in the drive. Okay, there are the four methods of lubrication, because whatever the chain drives we will use, that will need some kind of lubrications. So there are four methods. One is called as a manual method, another is called as a drip feed method, third is called as a oil bath and oil bath method, and the fourth is called as a oil stream method. So in manual method, obviously whatever the drives we will have, that will be a very low speed drives, and in the manual method generally involves applying the oil with the brush or manually, and depending on the requirement, this lubrication can be done or oil can be applied after every 8 hours, or depending on the condition. So whatever the chain drive is there, that should be stopped, and then it should be lubricated. While in a drip feed method, what we are having, again this is used in the low speed drives, and the oil is supplied to the chain from the reservoir or the manifold system. So we will have some kind of reservoir, and oil will be dripped on the chain, and obviously for lubrication, now we do not have to stop the drive. While in manual method, we have for the lubrication, for applying lubrication, we have to stop the drive, and then we have to apply the lubrication. While in drip feed method, there is a reservoir, and the oil will be dripped drop by drop, and the rate may be 4 to 20 drops per minute, and it will fall on the chain, and it will be get lubricated. Obviously it is again used for the low speed drives, while for the moderate speed drives, oil bath is used. In oil bath, what we are having, actually we are having a sump, or the oil oil sump is there, and a short portion of the chain will travel through this oil sump. So when this will travel through the oil sump, it will be get lubricated. So that is the oil bath. So this is used for the moderate moderate speed chain drives. And if we are having a high speed chain drive, then oil streams are generally used. So what we are having over here, we will have a oil pump, and this oil pump directs the lubrication under pressure onto the chain at a high flow rate, and it will lubricate the